All right, all right. Look, if you're on this live stream, oh my gosh, it is December 26th, I believe, right after the holidays. Here we are, another Monday, and we've got 1 week left till the end of the year, Guy. It is pretty crazy. If you're joining us on this live, if you're watching this in a replay or watching this on streaming, I'm going to encourage you to join us in the Zoom room if you want to actually participate in the conversation here. Otherwise, we're going to be winding this live up pretty quick here of just finish the year strong with this last week. And, Guy, we talk about our process on a sprint process. And I want to highlight what a week looks like. And then I want to sort of expand that out and contract it in. We're going to take a macro view and a micro view as we finalize the year. And this is one thing that I've learned, Guy. We're going to talk about what we learned in the closed room in 2022 and how that's going to feed us into 2023. And one of the big things that I'm going to share with everybody on the live is I learned about how adjusting my perspective can give me a new insight on the systems and processes that I'm running. And here's how this rings true. For the last 52 weeks, again, this is week 52, we've been consistent on coming on every single Monday and talking about what we talk about as a sprint plan. We do it in development in 2-week cycles all the time. This is where this came out of, right? We go in with our development team. We say, here are our objectives for this sprint, this next 2-week cycle. Here's what we want to accomplish. Everybody cusses and discusses, how are we going to do each of these things? This is how long it's going to take, or we think it's going to take, who's going to do what. And then we get to work. We work through that whole process. And at the end, we do a retro. How did it go? Did these things take as long as expected? What didn't go right? How can we improve and how can we get better over time? And that's the big goal when we talk about sprint planning from a development side. We took it over to a weekly sprint plan because we can apply these sprints to everything in our life. So what's your game plan for the week look like? What are you going to do starting Monday through Friday or Monday through Sunday? Whatever you plan for, how are you going to execute your plan? And then come back at the end of the week, look at your plan. Did it go as planned, or did you get kicked in the mouth and have to adjust or course correct? And what did you learn? And then what are you going to do better next week? And if you do that, or you did that 52 times this year, hopefully right now, the last week of the year, you're better off than where you started the year, right? And we're talking about finishing the year strong. And we're talking about making forward progress as we go from point A to point B and reaching our goals. That's sprint planning. Now let's change our perspective for a second. A lot of people, and this is going to be true come January 1st, they're going to annualize their sprint. Guys, a year is not a sprint. A year is a marathon. But the first thing they're going to do, everybody's doing it right now in the back of their mind. What are my New Year's resolutions? What am I going to do differently this year that's ahead? And how am I going to make a change? And they're picking and choosing different areas of their life. I got to lose 50 pounds this year. I got to make $1 million this year. Whatever those goals are, they're starting to ideate on those goals, and they're going to try and map out a game plan. A lot of them aren't going to do it right. And they're all, or not all, but 85% of them, they're going to quit by the time January is over. But their sprint looks something like this in their mind. Start off January 1st, execute to perfection, all the way through February, March, April, May, June, July, August, till you get to December, and then come back and do a quick retro as you celebrate the victories of all the New Year's resolutions that you set for yourself. Exception rather than the rule. Exception rather than the rule, right? Even breaking it down on a quarterly basis, 3-month chunks. We talked about 90 days. There's 4 quarters in the year. You have better odds of completing 1 quarter at a time. If you're playing a game, right, 4 quarters in a game, or, and stopping at the halftime and taking a breath and recalibrating and adjusting than you do just doing it all in 1 year. But guys, don't stop at 4 quarters. Let's change our perspective. There are 12 months in the year. I know you've got a better likelihood of doing something very focused, laser focused, and being relentlessly consistent for a 30-day track than a 365-day track. Think about that. And then you can just repeat and adjust every 30 days. Okay. Then what we've done this year, we broke it down into 52 weeks, right? I know everybody who's watching this has it in them to be strong and have the mindset of a champion for 5 to 7 days. I mean, if you haven't gotten to that point, you have a lot of work to do on yourself, on your psyche, yeah, like on everything. Okay, but when you get this dialed in, guys, why do we do a week sprint? Because every single day becomes a sprint. That's a true sprint. When you get 24 hours, you're probably spending 7, 8 of those hours sleeping. You know what I mean? And you got another, 16 or so hours to just get after it in whatever you're working on in all of the areas of your wheel of life. And you plan the night before so you're prepared. You review your plan, the game plan the morning of the big game. Every day is a game. You play your game, and at the end of the day, you have a retro. And you sit there and you go, okay, what did I do good? What didn't I do good? How am I going to adjust? Then you make your plan for the next day. You rinse and repeat. You do that daily routine for 7 days straight. Again, every day might be a little bit different for you. That's your week. You do a bunch of those weeks together. That's a month. You do 3 of those months together. That's a quarter. And you do 4 quarters, and that's a year. And if you're relentlessly consistent, which means you get started and you have the discipline to stick through it, you're going to be amazed at what you accomplish in a year's time. So, Guy, before we end this live stream, I'm going to throw it over to you for any final thoughts on this. And then we're going to go into a roundtable sprint planning, 2023 planning type of discussion with the people who've actually chosen to come on live with us this last week of the year.
To add to this, and then just like you're saying, we'll get more in depth over on our live. Change. I think change is one of the biggest things that people have identified, and they identify that every time they come to their new year with their resolution. It's like, I've got to make a change. Change isn't easy. It's not easy at all, and it's hard. And we're going to struggle with it. But we've got to make a decision at some point to make a change. And if it's going to be a year long, there's going to be a higher likelihood that it's not going to be accomplished. To the point of our sprint planning and doing it at the beginning of every week, you're talking sprints. Those are things that are going to get you in your mental shape, into getting things done on a daily basis, an hourly basis, to make sure that these are elements that I've identified that I have to change. It's time for a lot of us to get out of the fetal position of our lives and just laying there and, poor me, poor my situation. You can change your situation. And you've got to have a mindset of a champion to do it, no matter what. You've got to work on yourself. You got to work on yourself, not just during 9 to 5 hours or what you consider your business day. You've got to work on yourself constantly, all the time. And to know that you're going to hit hurdles and you're going to hit barriers, but you've got to for yourself. You've got to, for your families, make that change. And so we'll get into more in depth with this over here in our group. So if you're watching over on YouTube, come on in, jump in on the Zoom. We'll get more in depth and excited for the change that is happening, not only in the community of LFI, but we're authentic. There's change that we have to make, and we're going to be embracing it and be talking about it here over on this live. So everyone, have a great last week of 2022. Don't waste it. Get into action.